we had a couple seconds delay last time. And it looks like they are on. All right. So YouTube and Facebook, I've got you guys both live, and you're also live on our website, which is Facebook. I'm sorry. It's actually madenewOmaha.com/kitbashing. If you're catching us on Facebook, we are at facebook.com/madenewOmaha. So, what are we doing today? Well, it's Free Build Friday, and that means that we are going to build something super awesome, and that something super awesome is going to be a homemade, but a button. Let's make a button. This is something that we have the machinery for here at our makerspace that is a fun activity. It's something that we do in groups when we're here, and so hopefully in the not too distant future, people will have the opportunity to come here, and there may even be a way, I'll tell you later, you can get a button right now. So, I am Jim. With me today, again, is Luke. You can't see him very well on this camera because he's kind of hidden. And you are watching Kitbashing. Welcome back to Kitbashing. I am your host. I am Jim. Why am I wearing glasses today? I don't know. I use those for reading. I don't really need them for being on the show. Just to answer, my mom asked a question, is Luke here today? Luke, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Luke is here today, and of course, as is his role, he is here as my apprentice. He is my build apprentice, so he does a lot of the work that I do, and I tell him how. And as I'm teaching him, you guys learn. I am your host, of course, and I am very hopeful that by the end of today, you guys will know how to make a button. Luke, you made a few of these before, haven't you?
Yep, I've got like 5 at home. I've got a strawberry button, a Santa Claus button, I think I have a Pikachu button. I've got a whole bunch of these at home.
You got a whole bunch of these. These are really fun to make, and they're actually pretty easy to make. So today we're going to walk through that process. With these Free Build Fridays, we build whatever I want to build. We've got a bunch of kits going out today, actually, and these kits they're super cool. But I thought, well, especially today, because there are a lot of people out in the community now who are just getting their kits this morning, or they aren't going to get their kits until tomorrow or Sunday. I wanted to make sure that we give you guys opportunity to open your kits, experiment with them. I'm going to talk later about how you can submit builds that we can do here on the show, and you'll get some awesome credit for. Before we go any further, though, I want to show you guys a quick video I made about building the actual kits. Now, you'll have to bear with me because I literally added this video about 5 seconds before the show started. So there might be a few very minor glitches. I really hope not. But I want to show you guys just what we do when we pack these boxes. And so I made an example video with us packing one box. And I think, is this the one? Nope, that's not that. Here it is. And I'm going to turn off that video. There we go. All right, so I turned the video off. Now I've got this ramped up to 200% speed so you can kind of get an idea for what we're doing without it taking a ton. Everybody now, one of the pieces of feedback we got from the first batch of lists was that there were no instruction kits that came with them. And so we printed that off. We printed off the information sheet so you know what's supposed to be in the box. And on the back side of that, we printed out how to get online, how to find our site and everything. But we basically, to make these kits, we would go through and put on our gloves, make sure we're safe, go through the line, and get everything from the order. Now, we printed these off in 2 places. We did have the sheet, which told us how many we were supposed to have, but then on the outside of the boxes, you can see on some of these boxes where we put the labels on. You can't see them on all of them. And by the way, the Rushes are here, and they said hi, not just to me, but to Luke today. So, Luke, hi.
Hi.
But yeah, so we would go through, and this area that you're seeing, this is actually our maker space. Normally, this room is a classroom. It's not a warehouse. It's not a shipping area. But I'm the only person who can be in here right now. Well, me and the kids, and so since nobody else is using the space, this works really well for us to turn this into a warehouse. And so we would go through and we would pick the various things out of each container. Now, I did one at a time on this video, so you guys would just see what goes into a box. Normally, we were doing 4, or even I think my mom was helping, and we were doing 6 boxes at a time, where we would just take 6 boxes around with us and we'd fill it out. And we'd count everything out and try to do our best. Now, if somebody ordered a box, and I'll say this, if you ordered one of the boxes and you didn't... Oh, it says I'm cutting out. I wonder if there's a feed issue today. Sometimes this feed service doesn't work that great. It could also be connections on the other end. But if everybody's getting it cut out and it's not working, please let me know. I see my mom mentioned that it's buffering. If everybody else is having this issue, it could be something that it's related to the feed. The big challenge with doing this live is that we never know what's going to happen. And if the internet's having a bad day, I know there's ice on the lines everywhere, then that could be a cause for that. But anyway, once we get all of this stuff put together, we'd go through this entire line. We made a big U shape, and we would go through, get everything put together. And once everything was put together, then the next part, which is really fun, fun for me, I guess, was that we would go over to the laser room and we would get all of those parts. And so, yeah, we'd collect all of these. Now, I figured out a system to make the card counting really easy, to make sure I got close to 10. With all these numbers, I warn you, those of you who are just now getting the kits, it's 10-ish, or 12-ish, or whatever-ish. If whatever the number is, we tried to aim for it, but there's no guarantee that we got them exactly right, especially when we had to make 125 of these kits. I just wanted to turn that off so that we didn't do this. Is it still buffering? I'm not sure. Hopefully. Here, I'm going to hit this button. I apologize, folks, as this is going. We're trying to make sure that everything's working, and so that's why I stopped. But see, you can see that we went back over to where the laser cut pieces are. We got all those added in the box, and then we would fold everything together and get it out. What do you think, Luke?
I mean...
You watched us do a few of these, right?
Yeah. Oh, you're asking what I thought about putting it together.
Yeah.
So I got to help put it together, and when I was doing that, I would go around the room, and on the boxes we have numbers, and that says how many of something that we need. So I just go around, I look at the number, and it says 12 feet paracord. So we have the paracord in little bundles, so I can grab that bundle, and it's already 12 feet. So I put that in one of the kits.
Yep, it was very convenient the way that we set it up. And so it looks like... I apologize to everybody because this free build day is acting weird. I'm going to have to double check my stream quality with the provider to make sure that it's not my fault. But I'm seeing some issues on my end too. So for those of you who are connecting with us and having issues, I apologize for that. So let's get right into what we're doing today. Let's talk about putting together a button for our button maker. Now, I've got some equipment here on my overhead camera that you can see. And you can see that we've got the actual button machine. I've got my cell phone, which I don't need right now. I'm actually going to turn that to silent because I don't want anybody calling during the show. Or if they do, at least, I don't want them to be heard. So we have our button press. This is a specialized machine that will actually make the button in the beginning and the end process. And I'm going to slip over to this camera here real quick so you can see the way that this works. There we go. Is we've got two pieces here. This first one sets the button. This second one puts the backer on. And so you got to do both to get your button designed. Okay, so we have that. We also have the actual button backer pieces, which those you see on a button. We see these are the button sheathing. Luke, you can leave that open. The mailman might need to deliver stuff. The mailman just pulled in, and so we don't know. He might have something for us. He might have parts for our kids. We have these clear pieces of film, and you can barely see them, but they're clear pieces. These are the cover on the button, and I was particularly proud of myself for coming up with this button. You can't really read it very well because the focusing is out. But yes, I have a contagious optimism about myself. Let's go to the overhead camera because I'll bet that one can see it. Oh yeah, a little bit better. Contagious optimism. Anyway, this one maybe. I'm trying to find one camera that can focus. I thought, given the situation that we're in right now, this would be a really useful button to wear because people will see it from a distance and they'll stay back. And then if somebody sees it and they're not from a distance, you know, maybe they'll also feel optimistic. So, what we're going to do right now, and I'm sorry I'm going slow, folks. I'm just watching the buffering issues, and I might, hopefully Monday will come out fine. If we keep having issues today, we will maybe do a redo of this episode tomorrow, and then we'll do another one Monday. But for those of you who are watching and are trying to tag along through the buffering issues, what I'd like to show you is the process of actually creating these buttons. So to create a button like this, the first thing you need to do is you need to design the button. And we do that in a program called Photoshop. Well, at least that's how I do it. So this is Photoshop, and you can see I already created the file for this button once right here. But we're going to walk through this again because Photoshop is a great program to learn how to use if you've never used it before. There are software programs that are very similar to Photoshop that are free. I would encourage you to go look those up. Like GIMP is the name of one. There's a couple others too that you can use. This is for you, Luke. But we're going to create a new document. And so right over here where it says create new, I'm going to click on that. And then it's going to ask us for some size stuff. Now, I measured this out before. And if you remember, one of my favorite tools on this whole show is my calipers. And so with my calipers, I measured this out. And what I came back with, and the reason I'm looking over here is because I set my calipers down. Haha, here they are. All right. And again, I am a thorough believer that every tool that can have googly eyes should. So we're going to measure this out and put that in here. And that's coming out about 44 millimeters wide. So that's this clear plastic. You don't want your paper to be bigger than the plastic. Otherwise, your button won't work properly. And so we're going to go back into Photoshop here, and I'm going to make that 44 millimeters wide on this new document. Let's see. And you guys can't see everything I do because of the way that this program is, but 44 millimeters wide, and then we create the document. Okay. So now I've created a document that is 44 millimeters wide, and we're looking at the screen right now. All of these extra things you don't necessarily need, and if you have them, you can turn those off in the view menu, and we turn off extras. All right, so here's our canvas. Now, I could create whatever I want on this area. Now, if I really wanted to, I could go in here and I could fill the whole thing with a color. Let's fill it with yellow. And I could create designs and text and whatever I wanted. But here's the thing is I don't know where the actual cutoff will be. I have no idea. So I need to figure that out. Going back into the Photoshop, I'll show you how you can do that. We're going to create a circle, and that's over here. This is called the ellipse tool. I'm going to do that. We're going to select the box for the drop down and go to the ellipse tool. And if I hold the shift key down while I draw, I'm going to start way up here in the top corner, and I draw all the way down to the bottom right corner. Because I held the shift key, that made a perfect circle. Now, I don't want my circle to be black. I want that to be, I don't know, this bright yellow color. And that border around the edge is called the stroke. We don't need that either. And so I am going to get rid of that by clicking here, and we're going to just take it down to like 0.5. So there's just a little bit. So if you're watching today, we are going to walk through this whole process of creating a button. So now we've created this part right here, which is really good. The next step, though, is that we do need to create a size for the actual button itself. And how do we figure this out? Well, again, same tool. We have our handy-dandy measurer. Now, one of the things I didn't do in this new file that I created was I didn't set it to metric. I left it on inches. And so even though I made it 44 millimeters wide, in the actual document itself, it's going to measure everything in inches. Well, this tells me it's 31.66 millimeters, but if I hit this other button on the top here, I can actually change this to inches. And so that tells me that this is about 1.2, oh, is that right? Yeah, 1.246 inches wide is the shape of our button. And there needs to be a little bit of room for the roll off, for it to go over the edge of the button. So I'm going to go back into Photoshop, and what I'm going to do now, oops, that's not Photoshop, that's the picture from yesterday of Luke's prank. We are going to draw another circle in Photoshop. And so to draw that circle, we're going to go back over to our circle tool, and we are going to make sure it's on the ellipse, which is good. And while I'm holding the shift key down again, I'm going to draw another circle. And you can see on the bottom right, it gives me the size of the dimensions. So this is a circle that is, we measured and it was like 1.2 something. So I'm going to make this 1.4. And I'm just going to remember when I create this, there we go. I made a mistake. See, this is what I mean. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, because we all do it, and some of us do it all the time. All right, I had to create a new layer first, and now that I've done that, now it should be really easy. All right, 1.4. And don't worry if it's not centered. If you're using a program like GIMP or another, or Photoshop or one of these other software programs, there are tools to center that up. You can even use Inkscape, which is a free program that we use a lot around here. And again, I'm going to change the color of the inside with this tool. And again, I'm going to click on this guy, and we're going to change the width to 0.5. Luke, where are you at? Hello. Thank you so much. Deliveries. I love them. We always get deliveries during the show. I don't know why that is, but we always get deliveries during the show. All right. So going back to what we were doing. If you're looking at this now, you'll see that we have, I'm going to deselect that. We have two circles. We have one big circle and one little circle. This little circle is the area that we can use. There's a problem, though. It's not centered. So how do we fix that? Well, there's a couple ways that we can do that. Let me check here to make sure there's no more comments. I know that somebody said it was still buffering on the Facebook side. It looks like, at least from my perspective, that the buffering issue has kind of resolved itself. So here's what we're going to do to fix where these are located. I'm going to select both of these layers by holding the shift key and clicking. And then we are going to go up here to this top row. And you can see in this top row, there's all sorts of little things you can do. And there's this button right here will actually create will center the two of them on the horizontal plane. And then you won't be able to see this, but in this little area where there's the 3 dots, when I click on that, a drop down comes that will allow me to center it on the vertical. And so I'm going to click both of those. And so now I've got a pretty good example of what I need for my button. And I'm going to change a couple things. 1, I'm going to take away the background. 2, I'm going to go to my smaller layer, which is this layer on top, and I'm going to take away the stroke entirely. And that's just that outer border. So now there's a little bit of a color difference because I used a lighter yellow and a darker yellow. So I can still tell where that edge is, but I don't have a big line that will show up if it gets in the wrong place. So now I need to find a graphic, and the graphic that I found before, I was looking up Contagious, and so I'm going to go and see if I can find that image again. And actually, I know how to do this. I just did a Google search for Contagious, and it came up. But I'm going to open up another document here in Photoshop that has the button already pre-made, because that's just how I roll. And so I have this button already. I'm going to do the rest of this myself, but I wanted to copy the graphic. And so you can actually duplicate the layer from Photoshop, where I come in here and then I set it up to go to the next, there we go. And I can close this, and then it should be in here. It is, look at that. It's in here, and it's even set up right. Okay, so I got my graphic. Now, if you were using Google Image Search to find a graphic, you would just open up Google, and you'd find the graphic, and then you'd copy it and paste it. But now I want to add some text, and so we're going to click over here to do text. Yep, regular text tool. And wow, that's huge. We don't need it that big. Let's go to 12 points. See how that looks. Okay, that's a lot better. So we're going to write the word contagious because, I mean, like, seriously, it's kind of funny. A little, sort of. I don't know if it's totally funny, but I think it is. I was looking for something that was kind of ironic, but then also, you know, kind of makes a point. And optimism. We're going to add that in there. And so that's really easy to do. You just type the text and you put it in there. Cool. Contagious optimism. So this is my button. Now, if I was going to do something else, I could actually take this button and I could do it 100 different ways. I could make a sheet full of buttons or whatever. For today's purposes, I am just going to make one single little button and we're going to print it off. So we go to File, and then I'm going to print this off. And while we're doing that, Lucas, were you working on a button?
Yep.
Here.
I made
slide
a
it over
little
here.
design.
Put it right here so we can see it on the overhead camera. So while I'm printing this off, Luke, why don't you tell me how you got the size for your buttons?
So what I did, I made 2 circles. The inner circle is what you will see, and the outer circle is the edge of what we will make. So
I'm trying to get focus. This camera's having a really bad day for focusing.
Right, it's not on it. Do you see this?
I know. There we go.
So the way I did this is I put so this is one of the pieces we will need. I just put this and I use the Sharpie to trace a line around it. And then I got one of these plastic covering things, another thing we will need, and I traced the line around it, but that kind of messes it up. So I ended up having to throw away that other one because it kind of got messed up.
Oh.
So I got this one instead.
I gotcha.
So once I got those lines traced, I drew a picture inside the inner circle, because if I went to the outer circle, that wouldn't be something we would see. All
right, very cool. So if you don't have the means to create a button on the computer, you can actually make your own design just using regular paper, which is really cool. Luke, that was a great design. So what you can do right now is you can actually take your design and you can cut it out. I'll give you a pair of scissors.
I got one right here.
You got them? Okay, perfect.
Why is there a little popsicle stick taped to this?
That's a long story. Luke just asked about the amazing popsicle stick on our pair of scissors. I was trying to cut something with these scissors, and it might have been something slightly too thick, and I'm not smart at things sometimes, and I do make mistakes. And I was cutting something super thick with these scissors, and this particular handle broke. But I'm not going to let my issues slow me down, so I made my own popsicle stick reinforcement, and it has been working beautifully. Now let me show you, because mine just printed out. Let me show you the cutout process for this. It's really easy. All you got to do is go around, and we will actually reuse this paper, so everything on the border, I don't want you to think I'm just going to print this out and throw away the rest of this. We will actually find a use for this. The odds are that Luke will make buttons out of it, or that one of the other projects that we do here, we will use this paper for. We try not to be wasteful if we can at all avoid it, even though we're a makerspace, so we do make a lot of trash. So we cut this out. Now it's time to actually see this. Luke, here, I'll let you cut yours out while I explain the next step. So now we have our printout. We made our cool button, and you can see, if you look closely, the different colors of the actual button. And that light yellow is the part that's going to get cut off when we make our button. So we need 3 things for this next step. The first thing that we need is our clear piece of plastic right here. The second thing that we need is one of our button caps, which these are just little caps that will fit right into our button press. And then the third thing we need is our graphic. So I will put the graphic and the plastic together so that the plastic is on top, and then that goes up in here, and we try to make it as straight as possible inside the first press. This is one of those machines, again, if you come to the makerspace when we are open, you can use this. Every Tuesday night when we're not in the middle of a pandemic is free makerspace night, where you're welcome to come and use all of our equipment for free, including this, and we will eventually reopen when this is all said and done. And so this is something you can do. So you push this down. I'm going to push it down twice just to make sure. And what I want to show you is that now, almost seemingly like magic, the stuff is gone. And it's not really gone. I don't know if I can get this camera angle low enough, but you can actually see that it is hiding underneath here, underneath this lid. So the next step is we slide this over, and wait, I almost forgot an important part. You need to put the backer on, and you need to put the backer on not 100% straight, but with just a little twist. And actually, I'm going to use one of these white. So we've got 2 different types of backers. We've got the white ones, which are plastic, and then we have the other aluminum ones. I like both. We're going to pop this on here like this, and that just drops right into the hole. And again, we're not... If I discovered early on with this machine that if I keep this at a straight, basically 90 degrees, then the buttons come out crooked. So instead, we rotate it just a little bit. This comes in, and then the next step... Luke, you want to pull the handle?
I'm going to set my stuff down.
Yeah, definitely. So you got to push it hard. There you go.
And then we always do this. Oh,
Sometimes
it didn't turn out.
it helps.
It didn't turn out the way we wanted
Patience,
it to.
grasshopper. That does look like, oh, bummer. It looks like it only grabbed about half of it. So if that happens, this does happen sometimes where it didn't quite grab. Not a big deal. We can actually take this off, and we can just pop everything back into another set. Lucas, are you working on one?
Yep.
All right, let me show you. Let's show everybody what you're doing.
So I put my I just put this metal piece in mine,
Mm-hmm.
and then next always put whatever picture you drew or what you printed, always do that next. Mine is slightly too big. Would that mess it up?
No, it'll be fine.
Okay. Then we put in this plastic piece.
Yep. You got to hold it down real sturdy.
And
if we're lucky, it picked it up. It looks like it did.
Okay. And I almost forgot the important step. Now we want to put it like this.
Yep.
And slightly crooked. And we push down. We push down once, and then we push down twice.
Make sure it's really seated.
And then we move it over, and we've got a button.
Very cool. And so that is exactly how it works. Let me show you again on mine. So I got my button back out, and then we're going to line this up, and we're going to put another piece of plastic on. And you can mess up. You just redo it. That's really all it is. You slide it over, and if I did this right, hopefully, yep, we caught it. Drop in our cap. Now, if you look at it, there's a right way and a wrong way to put it in here. We're going to put it in here at an angle, slide it over, punch it in, and you just pop it twice. It doesn't take long at all, and now I've got a perfect button that works. It's got a nice back on it, and it has my design on the front of it. And I got a little off center on that second try, but you can see from this one, it works pretty well. So you can be a contagious optimist with the button making machine. That was a fun little build that I wanted to do today, just because of the fact that button making is fun. And it's one of those things that when you get to the makerspace, because I'm expecting every one of you to come eventually and visit and check this place out once we're able to do that again. I want you to be able to make stuff here. And so we're going to use some of these Free Build Fridays to show you how to make stuff with the tools that we have at the makerspace. If you want to get on our show, if you want to create something, I'm encouraging you this weekend, take your kits and build something with them. Send the pictures of your builds and your YouTube videos and whatever, and I'm going to get those up. I was having issues again with YouTube today, but I've got a video already lined up that I'm going to share. But share those with me, and kitbashing at madenewOmaha.com is the address. If you share those with me, I will get them posted on a future episode. Also, we're going to have a little promotion in the not-too-distant future where we will start giving out buttons, which we will distribute by the postal service so that, nobody has to go and touch anything. But we're going to start sending some buttons out to some people. So stay tuned, because we'll talk more about that later. I would encourage you to go to our website, which is madenewOmaha.com/kitbashing, if you want to see previous episodes or you want to learn something cool. You can also visit us on Facebook, which is where we put a lot of our short-term quick updates when somebody needs to know something. So facebook.omaha or facebook.com/madenewOmaha is the address for that. And until next time, I am your host. I am Jim. This guy over here is Lucas, and you have been watching Kit Bashing. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. We'll see you Monday with an exciting build from your kit.